Hey there, I'm Kristin and I talk about running a household and launching kids. Today I want to run through my 12-year-old son's budget with you. I'm going to walk you through it. This is going to be the first video in a multi-part series. I know there will be at least 4 videos total in the series about his budget and the different parts and pieces. Like I said, today's the first video in this series and we're just going to do kind of an overview of his budget. We're going to walk through it and I'm going to just show you what the different pieces are. He's 12 years old now for only a few more weeks and he's already changing a lot. This has been a gradual process. Budget, teaching him how to budget and doing it with him. It's a process that started probably when he was about 3 years old. Back then it was super simple. It was putting physical money in his hand and putting some of it into saving, some of it into spending, some of it into giving. And it's gone all the way up to where now he actually has a budget that he does online and he has a debit card, he has a checking account, he has a saving account. Obviously he still has cash in a wallet. But yeah, so we're gonna go through it and then we're gonna just talk about some philosophical things at the end. But first, before we jump into the budget, just a few more things. So back when Diego was smaller, we also did not just very basic glass jars really where we put money in it so he could see it. But we also did a lot of visual savings charts. So if we were going on a trip and he wanted a certain amount of spending money, we would actually create a chart, almost like a coloring page, and each space was, $1 or something. And so he would fill that in after he made money. Or if there was something that he wanted to buy for himself, we did that. We don't really do that anymore. We do it differently. Like I said, he's 12, he's almost a teenager. But the goal with this, particularly when he was little, but even now, is to build the link and then really strengthen the emotional link between stuff, money, things that require resources, freedom to some extent, and work. And a lot of what kind of helped formalize how we did things way back in the day, like I said, when he was a little guy before kindergarten, even at that age, was a lot of the stuff that Dave Ramsey talks about. But we kind of went through that and have kind of formed our own process of how we do everything. So how we do things today has been gradually built from my son's name is Diego, from his desires, his needs, his wants, his development. So here we go. Let's jump in. I think that's about all I had to say. So let's jump in to the budget. We're going to do a screencast and I'm just going to take you through it real quick. Okay, before we jump into the budget, I actually just went through it and I totally forgot to set the screencast. So you're going to have screenshots, but you'll still be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we are looking at his current budget for the current month, August of 2023. The program that we use for him is Every Dollar, and it is a Ramsey Solutions product. I love this program. We use the free version and he really likes it too. So the first box, so you can see this white kind of box here that says income at the top. I refer to those as categories. So first we'll talk about his income. He has different sources of income. One source of income that he has is practicing independence. And that will be the next video in this series. We'll really drill down into that and talk about philosophically why we do that, how it works, how it's affected him, all that kind of stuff. But we give him money on the first of the month. It's an auto transfer from our checking account to his checking account so that he can practice independence throughout the months. Again, everything has been gradual and it's grown. We didn't go from him not practicing independence at all to receiving what you can see, $90 a month all in one go. It's been very gradual and the amount of things that he's taken over for himself have built gradually over time as well. So one source of income that he has is practicing independence, and that's just money that he gets from mom and dad, but those are for very specific things, as you'll see. Then we have interest from his credit union. So every month when we do payday, we look and see what all of his accounts, what interest he earned the previous month. We add all those amounts together and then he can do whatever he wants with it because it's an investment. And typically he just puts it into spending, but that's another source of income for him. And then another source of income, you can see commissions, Friday 1, Friday 2, Friday 3, Friday 4. So every Friday, we have a process of locking in his earnings, and then the last Friday of the month, we do what we call payday. That will be part of video 3, kind of getting into the details of that. But you can see next to Friday 1, it says $25.70. That's his minimum amount that he needs to earn every month just to reach, hit his basic obligations, I guess. So just like we do, adults, like we have a certain amount of money that we have to make every month to buy food and shelter and things like that. He has some fixed expenses that he's kind of decided that he wants to do. We'll kind of go through that and you'll see. And then he also has to pay taxes for that income as well. So he knows that his minimum amount that he needs to earn every month is $25.70. So until he earns $25.70, he's still kind of in the red, which you can see in the top right over here under August. It says $25.70 over budget, just because he hasn't, you'll see in the budget what he's allocated to spend in all the categories. He's over by $25.70. Even though he has had some income come in for practicing independence, that went straight to that category, the practicing independence category, and then his interest from last month is just straight to spending. So those have already been allocated, so it's almost as if he hasn't made anything because he hasn't earned anything. Now, he actually has earned something, but we missed this Friday. It was very busy, so we'll probably do that later today. We'll lock that in, and he actually earned, this week was really good. He made like $85 this week because he is now, and this is why we're doing the 12-year-old budget now, because 6 months from now, everything is going to be fairly different for him because he's taking large leaps forward in a lot of different ways, in terms of what he's making, in terms of what he's ready to do for himself, in terms of responsibilities, in terms of desires that he has. So maybe we'll do this again in a year or 6 months or something, but his goal so his minimum that he has decided for himself to earn every month is $25.70, but his goal is actually to earn $1,000 this year, which is, we worked it out. If you took a couple weeks off, that would be $20 a week. So his personal goal is $20 a week. So, but again, this will also be different because one income source that's not in this budget that is becoming a thing for him, actually as of yesterday, is working in our business. So we have a family business, and he's got some special skills that we're utilizing. So that's cool. Okay, so that's income. There can be all kinds of sources of income. When it's his birthday, if he receives money, that's a source of income. During the holidays, if he finds money. The tooth fairy's done visiting him because he just recently lost his last tooth, but the tooth fairy would be a source of income. So you can just add anything, and you can see down here where it says add income. I can click on that and then just, add in. I'm going to delete that, but just add something in. Okay, so that was the income category. Now, going down lower, you'll see all these other categories, and actually over here to the right, I'll click on the summary tab, and you can see, his income is about $92 because he hasn't spent, he's not balanced in terms of income and outgo. There are no circles here, but there will be at some point. But you can see here all of his spending categories, just so that you can see it kind of bird's eye view. He has me, which is practicing independence. And then he has taxes, which he pays 20% taxes on his income. So on what he earns, he doesn't pay taxes on gifts or interest or things like that. At some point, he may pay taxes on interest. Like I said, this is a gradual process. We're not trying to make him be a little adult right now at 12 years old. We're trying to gradually step him up the ladder so that when he is an adult, it just feels like a natural progression. So he has me, practicing independence, taxes, 20% of income, generosity, family fun, saving and spending. So we'll go through those now. Okay, so box number 1 is me, practicing independence. So you can see over here to the right, it kind of tallies up for you how much he has allocated to each category. So you can see he has $90 coming in from his dad and myself, and he has $90 going out. So, and I set these amounts, but he agreed with them. So it was kind of collaborative in that he understands and he agrees. But really, I mean, I'm the parent, so that's what it is. So he has clothes, so daily clothes, fitness clothes, winter clothes, swimsuits, any kind of clothing. We give him $35 a month for that. That is like over $400 a year. Yeah, like No, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, it's a lot of money. Well, it's a good amount of money. And you can see, actually, I didn't mean to leave these checked, but you could see he has a lot of money in his clothing budget because all of these are sinking funds. That's what the piggy bank icon means. So when you make it a sinking fund, it means that once you put the money in, it builds up until you spend it. Sometimes it's nice to not make something a sinking fund because it's the same amount coming out every month, like a phone bill. And so rather than having to track the phone bill every month, it's nice to just like set the amount and then not have to track it when it leaves. But I just use sinking funds all the time. And so that's what Diego does. So you can see he has $540 for clothing, and that's his choice. I give him advice. I don't allow him to just walk around wearing clothes that don't fit, but it's wide open to him, whatever he wants to do. And also, we have told our kids that this is their money. They can't use it for anything outside of practicing independence, but they can move things around within the categories if they need to. And once they're kind of on their own and we're not helping them at all anymore, whatever's in there is theirs. So it incentivizes them to buy things on sale, to look for deals, to be really wise with their spending. Do I buy more expensive things, but not as many? Or do I buy cheaper things, but then I have a lot of stuff? So for feet, socks, shoes, anything having to do with feet, it's $15 a month, $180 a year. Body hygiene, personal, so this would be mouthwash, deodorant, body lotion, anything like that. That's $15 a month, $180 a year. Out and about bites, those are snacks, just when we're out and about. And again, when we do the next video, which is practicing independence, I will get more into the philosophy of this and why we do it and how it's really helped them to grow and really to create peace in our life. Decor, that's anything inside. That could be, buying a houseplant from Trader Joe's or painting or whatever. That's $2 a month. Extra needs. The best example I could give for that would be like goggles, like swim goggles or something like that. It's just extra needs, just extra things that come up that aren't in the other line items. And then garden. Our kids grow a garden every year, and we're actually getting ready to kind of increase that a little bit. That's the $3 a month, it's $36 a year. It's mostly for plants and seeds, but I think we're going to increase it next year so that they buy their own soil, they buy their own fertilizers and things like that. He's had enough practice that next year might be the year for that. We might wait another year, but like I said, it's a gradual process and we're always reassessing it. Okay, so that's practicing independence. Then we have taxes. So taxes would be 20% of his income. And what we do is at the end of the year, we put that money into his car fund. So he's not actually paying taxes, but he kind of is. Category number 3 is generosity. You could also call this celebrate, holidays, whatever, but it is generosity. So he has, all of our birthdays, his dad's birthday, my birthday, his sister's birthday. He buys gifts for his mentors once a year. He does a lot of extracurricular activities, and sometimes we'll help out with those gifts a little bit depending on what the kids want to do and how some mentors are just amazing and we want to do more also, and sometimes the kids just do them themselves. Mother's Day, Father's Day, the holidays, and then spontaneous giving. So that's his generosity, and those are fixed amounts. So this generosity box is part of his minimum earning every month that he has to earn. And so, those amounts, he sets those amounts once a year, how much he wants to spend for everything. And then that helps to contribute to knowing what his minimum earnings are every month. The next box or category is number 4, that's family fun. So that it's just a little extra spending money when we have like family days, like when we go do something extra special, or like when we go on a trip. Like, of course, if they have spending money, they can use that. But sometimes you don't have a lot of spending money, and then we have a tendency to sometimes book trips last minute, like in less than a week, we're going somewhere that was kind of a last minute thing. And so it's nice to just have a little extra spending money sitting to the side just in case. So he has that, and then he pays for part of his pool pass every year. He doesn't pay for his full portion, but he does pay for part of it, and that's a new thing that we started with him when he turned 12. And then holidays, just so like the last quarter of the year, once you get into the fall season, all the way through New Year. It's just kind of fun to have a little extra money to buy a hot chocolate or a little extra decor or something. I don't know, it's just kind of like a fun celebratory time. You know, you're kind of starting to think about all the hard work you've done this year, and it's kind of fun to just like reflect on it and celebrate. So he puts a little bit of money in there. It's not a lot. I mean, $1.50 is only $18 a year, but it's enough to kind of romance the ordinary a little bit during the holiday season. So that is $6 a month, and that is another fixed amount. So that $25.70 a month that is his, and like I said, he decided this on his own, the amount, but his $25.70 a month is basically his family fun, his generosity, and then 20% in taxes to cover that as well. So that's where that comes from. Okay, box number 5 is saving, and box number 6 is spending. So they sort of go together. The way we do his money, we have kind of like a formula that we use, and I'm very mathematically minded. I think it's the nature of the universe, and so we use math a lot. I'm not even necessarily like into higher math. I think I only went to algebra 2 in school, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2. But it's just, math is just so important. And so I feel like if you can come up with a formula, like it's not as emotional. So we have a formula that we do. And so after he's paid his taxes and he's done his generosity and he's done his family fun, all the money that he has left from his earnings gets split 50-50. Half of it he saves. And right now he's saving for a car, and you can see he has over $1,000 for his car. July payday sent him over, and he's pretty excited about that. And then the other half he can put into spending. So, but again, when he gets interest from his savings in the credit union, he can put that directly into spending too. You know, gifts, he can put them into spending, like whatever. But that's kind of how we do it. So there might be a month where he doesn't save anything and he doesn't spend anything because he earned just enough to pay his taxes, to do his generosity, and to put money away for family fun. So that is, and then this debt box down here is an every dollar thing, and you can't get rid of it. So, okay, let's jump off the screencast and just talk about a few more things. Okay, so just a few things here. One, something to take note of is the fact that my son, Diego, he's the oldest kid in our house. He's the firstborn, he's the oldest kid in our family. That really matters a lot. It gives context to what we're doing and where he is. You know, it's different with younger kids because they kind of follow in their older siblings' wake. So when I do this for my 9-year-old daughter, you'll see her situation is not all that different from his. It is different in some ways, but it's not as different as you would think. If you compared her at 9 and him at 9, she's going to be ahead of him, but because he's kind of the leader of the pack in time, he's always more, like he's always further along than she is, if that makes sense. But if you isolate time and just put them at the same age, she's kind of ahead of him. So it's kind of interesting. I think a lot of people know this, but I'm aware of the fact that it makes the situation different. And so we do treat our children very separately and independently from each other. We try to stay at their developmental level. You know, the things that we have to reinforce with one are different than the other. You know, my son is a natural saver. He just is. His net worth is approaching $3,000, like that he's built himself. And again, and that'll be another video actually in the series. We'll talk about net worth. My daughter is more of a spender, and so having a budget really helps her to not overspend. But I mean, her savings are nowhere near his because that's how it is. But flip side, she's not borrowing money. She's practicing being more content. Anyway, so that's important to note. Okay, so I did mention already that we use sinking funds. So again, a sinking fund, it's not a term I made up, it's an actual term, is where you put money into something over time and then at some point it builds up and then you use it. So for example, if you pay your car insurance once a year to get a discount, but you put money into it every month, then that would be a sinking fund. That's how we do cars. We don't borrow money to borrow cars. We don't borrow money to buy cars, but we do pay ourselves a car payment every month. It's just us that we pay it to instead of like on a loan. Another thing I want to say is that what we do is called a zero-based budget. So there's no extra money at the end of the month. at the end of the month, every dollar, which is why the software is called Every Dollar, because it is based on doing a zero-based budget. Every dollar has to go somewhere. You know, as Ramsey would say, you've got to give it a name, but you've got to put it somewhere. Even if you have a bucket, right? You have your different boxes, which are the categories, but then within them you have the line items. So I call those buckets. Even if you have a bucket that's called whatever I want, or I don't know, you at least put it somewhere. Again, doing this is helping my son to really strengthen his emotional tie and mental tie, decision making, even at like a primitive, what do I want to say? I'm thinking of the word blink with like Malcolm Gladwell, how we do things instantaneously and like very on the fly make decisions. It's going to help him strengthen and like shape himself in that way, at that level, at that, quick, instant decision making, content, not content level. Making that emotional tie between working, going out and getting it, and having stuff, whatever it is, even if it's free time, Something else, so there's a lot here that I don't want to like get into a lot right now because I don't want this video to get too long. It's probably already getting maybe a little long, but I know some people would believe you don't pay kids to do things around the house. Well, they need to have the opportunity to earn money. I think that's really, really important, but all of this, paying him to do things and him, having the confidence to go ask people to pay him to do things that he's doing for us because he's really good at it, that is in the context of a bigger system where he does things to take care of himself and to not be a burden to us, like cleaning up his things around the house. And there's a list of things there. And then within that is also a system of him, my papers are flying, doing things to help the family. Let me just move my paper. Doing things to help the family, to help the household because he's a part of this family, because he lives in this house, because he loves his mom and dad, because he's grateful. So there are those things that he does. And then outside of that would be extra things that he's doing where he's using his time and talent and effort and sweat and discomfort and all of that to make all of our lives better even more than he already does. Along with tying emotions to work, something else that I think is important, especially as children kind of start to move through lower elementary school, is the emotional tie between I made this much money and that translated into this much discretionary money. I think it's kind of mean what we do to kids when, we give them an allowance, whatever, we just give them money just to give them money. And they get this idea in their mind that I got $10, I took the trash out for my neighbor for a week while they were gone and I got $10 and now I have $10 to spend. That's not how like life is. And I think a lot of people struggle making the jump to, I make $14 an hour, but after taxes and a few other things, I really only bring home, 11 or whatever it is. So this system, I think, is also not just helping him to develop his emotions in terms of tying emotions to work. I want stuff, go out and get it. But also like, okay, if I want to have this much money to spend, then really I've got to make this much because there's other things that are going to take some of it away before it gets to me. Up until the last couple of weeks, this whole process has been managed by me 90% at least. He loves the system. It's not forced on him. He loves the fact that I do it, but it's primarily been managed, designed, all of that by me. And then he's just like gone with it and embraced it. And then over time, he's been more like, hey, Mom, it's Friday. Are we going to lock in I'm ready to lock in my earnings when you are. So it's been him kind of bringing it up and things like that. Now where we're going with it, it's probably going to be a little more 70-30, maybe even I could see within the next 6 months, maybe even 60-40. He's really like blossoming right now and his brain is changing. I mean, he is just, his body is physically changing. So we're in kind of like a big step up right now, which is really cool. He's kind of making like a developmental emotional jump. But yeah, like, so it's been fairly hands-on, it's after he goes shopping. Hey, do you have your receipts? Have you entered your receipts? Let's sit down and enter your receipts. Come on over. Is your debit card in your wallet? Making sure that you have all of your stuff. Whereas now I'm not quite as involved and it's been cool, but it's also been really interesting. Okay. So along with the lots of hands-on, they say that you need to inspect what you expect. And so in this process, my husband has been supportive, but like I have been a guide in this. Like, this is not just, and I know a lot of people will see this and go, my kid would never do that. Well, neither would mine. Like, we did it together. Like, I am the leader, and I'm like, that mountain, we're hiking it, let's go. And we just start going. That's what this process has been. As a parent, as an adult, if you want your kids to feel really secure, there's a lot of things you got to do. One of them is you need to lead. You need to lead the best you can. You don't need to fake it. Like, you know what you're doing. You can say openly, you know, I don't exactly know what I'm doing, but this is where I want to take you. And so we're just going to get started and try. But if you want your kids to lean on you, trust you, depend on you, all of that, like, you've got to be a force in your household. You've got to be a force in the life of your family. You know, another thing people say is money will control you unless you control it. And it's true. And one thing that I'm very, very motivated by is this strong desire to take money out of the equation with as many of his decisions as he goes through life as possible. Money is always a factor. It's always a limiting factor. Sometimes money is a boosting factor because you have enough money to do something that maybe you normally wouldn't be able to do. But I want him to be able to do as much of his life as possible, not limited by the money situation. Really what we're doing by doing this, it's not just about money. I mean, it is about money, but money is really the tangible representation of your effort and your ability to move and participate in things in the world. So we are using money as I don't want to say a leverage, but like a mechanism by which our son is able to feel competent. He's able to feel confident. He's able to esteem himself. He's able to motivate himself to do some things that maybe aren't directly beneficial, but are indirectly beneficial to him, to help him really experience that like euphoric feeling of possibility, to feel connection to himself, to other people, to the world, to different cultures, to feel his own power and to recognize it in other people as another way to express love, admiration, respect. It's a lot of things. Like, we're using money to help him kind of shape and mold himself as a man, as an adult, as a human being. Okay, so that's it. So that's video 1. That is just an overview of my 12-year-old son's budget. The next video, like I said, video number 2 in the series, we will go through practicing independence. I showed you the different buckets within that category, and we'll just get into it a little bit more and talk a little bit about the philosophy of that. So with that, thank you. See ya.